The 6th of April, 1941. The skies over Belgrade fill with hundreds of German aircraft as bombs fall across the city. Nazi Germany launches its invasion of Yugoslavia, calling it Unternehmen Strafgericht, or Operation Retribution. The goal is clear: to secure the Balkans and protect the southern flank before the attack on the Soviet Union begins. 19 German divisions, supported by Italian, Hungarian, and Bulgarian forces, crush Yugoslav resistance in just 11 days. After the surrender, local partisan forces continue the fight, and the occupiers respond with a brutal reign of terror across the region. One of the worst massacres takes place in the village of Velika, in the northern region of Montenegro, then part of German-occupied territory. On the 28th of July, 1944, Nazi and collaborating forces enter the village and for nearly 2 hours massacre hundreds of civilians, primarily women, children, and the elderly, burning homes and killing entire families. However, this crime will not remain unpunished, and the main perpetrators will pay for their crimes with their own lives. The Second World War started on the 1st of September 1939 when Nazi Germany invaded Poland. When Germany's ally, Italy, failed to conquer Greece in the late autumn and winter of 1940 to 1941, Germany became increasingly concerned about securing its southeastern flank in the Balkans. Greece's success in repelling Italian forces allowed its ally, Great Britain, to establish a foothold on the European continent. To subdue Greece and drive the British off the mainland, Nazi Germany sought to bring Yugoslavia and Bulgaria into the Axis alliance, which was a military coalition led by Germany, Italy, and Japan. On the 25th of March 1941, Yugoslavia joined the Axis and agreed to permit German troops to transit through its territory en route to Greece. The announcement of the agreement was extremely unpopular in many parts of the country, particularly in Serbia and Montenegro. The Yugoslav government soon declared that it would not honor its obligations under the pact. Hitler was furious. Although Prime Minister General Dusan Simovic attempted to retract the statement within days, Hitler ordered the invasion of Yugoslavia on the evening of the 27th of March. The invasion, involving German, Italian, Hungarian, and Bulgarian forces, began on the 6th of April 1941. By the 17th of April, the Yugoslav army had surrendered, and the country was occupied and partitioned by the Axis powers. In the division of the conquered territory, Montenegro fell under fascist Italian control. When Italy surrendered in September 1943, German forces quickly moved in and occupied the region. By late 1944, they were withdrawing under pressure from the advancing Allied and Partisan troops. In parts of Montenegro, some units of the royalist Chetnik movement, a Serb nationalist group, collaborated with the Germans and Italians. In the north, groups of local ethnic Albanians and Bosnian Muslims also joined the occupiers, either through an Albanian nationalist organization named Bali Kombetar, or through local Muslim militia units. In July 1944, the German army launched Operation Draufgänger, meaning daredevil, against Yugoslav partisans who had gained a foothold along the Lim River in northeastern Montenegro. The operation was concentrated around the small town of Andrijevica, where German forces were joined by elements of the 21st Waffen Mountain Division of the SS Skanderbeg, composed mostly of ethnic Albanians and by local auxiliary fighters. As they advanced, they burned at least 16 villages and killed several hundred inhabitants. The operation ended in a partisan victory and a military defeat for the Germans and their allies. As reprisal, the occupiers decided to punish the civilian population of Velika, a small village near Andrijevica. The main perpetrators of the massacre were members of the 7th SS Volunteer Mountain Division, Prinz Eugen, supported by soldiers of the 21st Waffen Mountain Division of the SS Skanderbeg. The Prinz Eugen Division was already infamous for the brutality it inflicted on civilians throughout the Balkans. Formed in 1941, its ranks were filled with ethnic German volunteers from Yugoslavia, Hungary, and Romania. The Skanderbeg Division, formed in Kosovo, was made up largely of ethnic Albanians who viewed the German occupation as a chance to pursue nationalist goals. Together, these forces turned their weapons on an unarmed population. On the morning of the 28th of July, 1944, the village of Velika was surrounded. The attackers moved from house to house, setting homes on fire and killing anyone they found. Hundreds of civilians were murdered, mostly women, children, and the elderly. Many were burned alive inside their homes. Survivors later described scenes of unimaginable cruelty. Milunka Vucetic personally witnessed the murder of a 3-year-old Serbian child, Tomislav Vucetic, who was skinned alive by troops from the Skanderbeg Division. She said, "I went toward the house of Milovan Vucetic. In the afternoon, soldiers from Ivan Polje entered the area. We decided to take them the bread and salt we had. When they approached, I saw little Tomislav, the son of Milovan Vucetic, playing in the olive grove. 2 soldiers grabbed him, and a third ran over. One of them took out a knife and began to skin the child alive from his eyes downward. I could not bear to watch. I started screaming, and his mother, Leposava, ran to protect him, but they killed her." Another survivor, Radoje Knežević, described the role of the Nazi divisions in the massacre. She recalled, "I was only 11 years old when Hitler's divisions, Skanderbeg and Prinz Eugen, burned down the village of Velika and killed hundreds of civilians. My family paid a heavy price that day. My mother, Stoyanka, was killed and her body burned. The same fate befell my 2 brothers, one aged 5 and the other just 11 months old. My sister, Raba, who was 18, was killed as she tried to protect them. She too was burned." Divna Vucetic, another survivor, remembered the same day. "I heard about massacres in the nearby villages, so I became afraid for the safety of my children. I sent my 2 eldest into the woods and held my 1-year-old son, Borja, in my lap. At the doorway came my daughter, Persida, who was only 3 years old, followed by my 2 nieces, 4-year-old Kata and 3-year-old Nata, and my daughters, Cvete and Dushana Vucetic. A soldier approached with a gun. I told him that I wanted to bring him bread, as I had been ordered to. He replied, 'Germany has bread.' He spoke our language perfectly. Then he shot me, killing my son in my arms and wounding me in the hand." The massacre lasted for nearly 2 hours. When the killing ended, the village of Velika lay in ruins. A total of about 428 civilians were murdered, among them entire families wiped out in a single day. Despite the fact that the Nazis and their collaborators had murdered hundreds of civilians, German military reports described the operation as a success. In his daily command report, dated the 25th of July 1944, August Schmidhuber, commander of the Skanderbeg Division, wrote with cold pride, "Operation Draufgänger was completely successful. It engaged strong enemy forces and prevented the partisan leadership from carrying out their planned operations. The army expressed its appreciation for the efforts of the participating troops and their commanders." However, this massacre was not forgotten, and justice or even revenge would eventually catch up with the perpetrators of the Velika massacre. Among them were the men of the 21st SS Skanderbeg Division, whose collapse began only months later. After just 6 months of existence, the 21st SS Skanderbeg Division was falling apart. plagued by mass desertions, poor combat performance, and a record of atrocities, it was officially disbanded on the 1st of November 1944 by Heinrich Himmler, the head of the SS. August Schmidhuber placed the blame on the Albanian soldiers under his command, stating bitterly that, during the attack he goes only as far as he finds something to steal or sack. Despite this failure, in January 1945, Schmidhuber was promoted to SS Brigadeführer und Generalmajor der Waffen-SS, a rank equivalent to Brigadier General in the US Army. That same month, as the German army retreated from Albania, he replaced Otto Kumm as commander of the 7th SS Volunteer Mountain Division Prinz Eugen. The remaining German and ethnic German elements of the Skanderbeg Division were absorbed into his new unit, which was given the honorific title Skanderbeg in memory of its predecessor. Under Schmidhuber's command, Prinz Eugen continued to commit war crimes, particularly in the cities of Split and Dubrovnik in present-day Croatia. As part of Army Group F, the division fought desperate rearguard actions against Yugoslav partisans and Soviet forces. The Second World War ended on the 8th of May, 1945. On the 11th of May, Schmidhuber was captured by Yugoslav partisans and handed over to the authorities in Belgrade. A Yugoslav military tribunal tried him on charges of participating in massacres, deportations, and atrocities against civilians, and sentenced him to death by hanging. He was executed in February 1947 in Belgrade. Schmidhuber's execution brought an end to his own story, but at least he was tried before a military tribunal. His men ended up far worse. In the final weeks of the war, the remnants of the 7th SS Volunteer Mountain Division, Prinz Eugen, retreated north through Bosnia and Croatia, trying to reach Austria and surrender to the Western Allies. On the 10th of May, 1945, they reached the Slovenian town of Celje, and the following day laid down their arms before units of the Yugoslav People's Army, 3 days after Germany's capitulation. All personnel of the Prinz Eugen Division, taken prisoner by the Yugoslav army, were then killed. Most were executed wholesale without trial and disposed of through various methods immediately after their surrender. The killings, which were never punished, were ordered by local Yugoslav commanders, who apparently acted in direct violation of Marshal Tito's instruction to detain the captives in prison camps and screen them for war criminals. In 2010, a large mass grave was uncovered near the Slovenian village of Brežice, containing the remains of around 2,000 Prinz Eugen soldiers. They had been stripped naked, bound together with telephone wire, and shot, their bodies buried in a trench during a summary mass execution on the 22nd of May, 1945. Many of the soldiers' relatives later perished during the expulsion and killing of German-speaking civilians across Eastern Europe. It is estimated that during the Second World War, around 1.2 million people were killed in Yugoslavia, of whom approximately 581,000 were civilians. Before we end today's story, take a look at worldhistory.tv, your special destination for true history lovers. Discover exclusive documentaries and incredible stories you won't find anywhere else. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more.